You're retired or you're about retired and everything that you have is pre-tax. What does that look like? What could you possibly do different? So let's take a look, because I've talked to a lot of people and they say, oh, I wish I would have started that Roth earlier, but they didn't. And so now they're in a situation just like this scenario that I'm going to show you. This is retired Roger. And so retired Roger is 55 years old. He's wanting to retire a little bit early for most people. And with that, everything he has is over here. He's got 1.5. He's done very well for himself. It's all in his 401k, all pre-tax. The way Roger's invested, he's at 60-40, so 60% stocks, 40% bonds is kind of the breakdown there. And as far as his goals are, he's going to live on $5,000 a month. He's got healthcare of $6,145. Now, healthcare is one that everybody who retires early starts to say, well, I'm really worried about healthcare. Affordable care, right this second, the health marketplace does allow the opportunity, as long as you keep your income lower or moderately lower, oftentimes it's affordable. There is the fact that you can go on COBRA. Sometimes maybe your employer has other options. We've seen a lot of clients, though, that are actually coming out ahead if they're going toward the affordable care, as long as their income, again, is in moderation. You're not just going out blowing too much money in the early years. All right, so this is where he's at. As far as his income goes, the only thing he's got as far as income will be Social Security. You can go to SSA.gov to get your estimate for your Social Security as well. So he's getting $2,600 a month, starting at full retirement age for Roger. And then, again, he's 55. His filing status is single. He's a single person there. So we already know, okay, he's not living on a crazy amount of dough in retirement years. He's doing well. He's saved quite a bit for himself. He's good to go. But what does he have to worry about? And that's what we really need to talk about. Everything that he has is pre-tax. Well, so if we go over here to the cash flows, I'll be able to show you a bit of this to kind of break this down. So if you look here, the net flows are negative. That just means that he's having to pull from different accounts. Well, everything currently is in the 401k. And oftentimes, if you're going to retire early and you have it all pre-tax, you can contact your employer and say, hey, or actually the 401k plan, say I want to do the rule of 55. That's where you're going to be able to make withdrawals without the 10% penalty from a 401k. Now, you have to either be 55 or turning age 55 in the year you retire to be able to do that. There are some 401k plans that actually don't allow the rule of 55. I've only seen two. So it's very rare, because we've talked to a lot of different people and worked with a lot of planning. And so just to give you an idea, it's rare, but make sure you check on that. The backup on that would be the IRS Rule 72T rule. That allows you to also get money out of a pre-tax account. A little bit clunky, so just make sure that you're checking into those things when you're going to retire early and everything's all pre-tax. And so from here, if we scroll down, we've got that negative net flow. He's pulling from all of his money. And right here, he's going to have Social Security start. And then at age 75, that's where it starts to get interesting, because he's actually going to have to take more money out than he needs. It's the required minimum distribution. If everything's pre-tax, get ready for that. You're going to be in that position because eventually, the government wants money whether you're spending it or not. And so the net flows you can see here are going to go positive. Now, instead of him just spending that money, the way we account for it in planning, because it's like, well, don't just go throw it away. The goal would be is if you don't need the money, you're reinvesting that into a taxable account. That's what happens over here, and he's actually growing this taxable account, which isn't a bad idea for inheritance purposes. He's got that setting there. So what could we do for Roger? Well, one thing that we could talk through is if he's in a high deductible insurance plan, he could set up an HSA, and you do have the option. Now, there's limitations on this. It's not a lot of money that you can do, but you could take at least a little bit from the IRA one time to fund the HSA contribution. So that's an option that he has. But then from there, a big one that we could talk through is Roth conversions. Now, if you're taking a look here, though, if he didn't do Roth conversions, obviously the plan is good. He's good to go. But here's where it gets interesting. The modified adjusted gross income, this is for Medicare. At age 65, whether Roger wants to or not, he's going to be taking Medicare. And when he takes Medicare, he's going to have to pay potentially an IRMA tax. Now, what is IRMA is basically, who knows what IRMA actually stands for, right? A great client of ours calls it Aunt Irma. Oh, Aunt Irma, you got to watch out for her. And so if we go down here, though, what we're going to find out is that the tax on Medicare is going to be increased if you're over the income threshold. So he's going to be good for the most part most of these years and be under the limit. But with our software, we're predicting out that Medicare, the premium threshold's going to go up as time goes on each year. But his modified adjusted gross income at 75 and above is all going to be well over the Medicare premium threshold because he's going to have to take those RMDs. And so there's the way around that where he could look to start doing Roth conversions. Now, then we've got to look at, well, does that make sense for Roger? And if we're looking here, I've got it out, just set up, so he's taking from the tax-deferred accounts first because that's what we've got set up there. And so it looks as though I'd found that this is really the sweet spot for Roger. If he wanted to do Roth conversions, he could do that. It would give him a little bit more money at the end of the plan from where he was. So that creates a good opportunity. Now, with this whole scenario, though, it really depends on what Roger's goals are. Maybe Roger doesn't want to have to pull too much money. Possibly he's in a position where you've got to think through what I just mentioned. If you're doing Roth conversions, be very careful because that could increase your healthcare costs. So when you're all in pre-tax, you change one thing, it could change a few others. But in general, this is a pretty cool setup, especially if you're looking for inheritance purposes, because Roger over here is going to come out slightly ahead. He's going to have $2.4 million at the end of the plan versus $2.3, and that's in today's dollars. But he would have that money to leave for legacy, for an inheritance, if that's what he wants to do. But it's all going to be tax-free. So there's options for Roger, though, everybody's scenario is a bit different. You may think of some other cool things that he could do. Let me know in the comments if you can think of those. And let's see if we can get, you retired or Roger retired as well.